The sky above the junkyard was never blue. It was always gray, heavy, and filled with the smell of burned metal and smoke. Shattered towers stood like skeletons in the distance, and the ground was covered with trash, broken machines, rusted ships, and scraps of forgotten worlds. In the middle of this endless waste walked a small alien girl named Lyra. Her eyes were pale and empty. She could not see the world around her, but she could hear it better than anyone. Every sound, every vibration, every whisper in the air told her stories that others ignored. Lyra was blind, but her ears and her heart were sharp. Every morning she woke before the twin suns rose. She tied a cloth around her head, took her small sack, and went into the trash fields. Her hands moved carefully over metal pieces, feeling their shape, listening to their quiet hums. She searched for anything she could sell for a bit of food. To most, she was invisible. To some, she was a joke. "Hey, blind girl, found any gold today?" Scavengers would shout, laughing. Lyra never replied. She only smiled faintly and continued walking. She had no family, no home, no one to speak for her. The junkyard was her world, and every day it whispered to her. She could hear things others couldn't. The soft crackle of old batteries, the faint pulse of half-dead circuits, the gentle echo of air moving through hollow pipes. Sometimes she thought the metal was alive, like it had a memory of its past. When she touched it, it spoke to her in vibrations, in little tremors that made sense only to her. One day, while searching near the deep pits where no one dared to go, she felt something strange. Beneath a pile of burnt wires and shattered glass, there was a sound, a heartbeat. She froze. The junkyard was full of dead things. Nothing should sound alive. But this was different. The sound was soft, steady, and warm. It called to her like a small voice begging not to be forgotten. She began to dig through the pile, her fingers cutting on sharp edges, her clothes tearing on metal hooks. Finally, she touched something smooth and cold, a small cube about the size of her palm. It pulsed gently in her hand like it was breathing. "What are you?" she whispered. The cube answered with silence. Lyra turned it around in her hands. It was heavier than it looked. The surface was dark silver, with faint lines that glowed when she held it close. She pressed her ear to it, and then she heard it. A voice, deep, calm, and human. "If anyone finds this," the voice said softly, crackling through static, "my name is Captain Arik, of the Earth ship Horizon. Earth has fallen. Help us. Help!" Then the message cut off. Lyra's heart jumped. Earth? She had heard of that name once from an old trader. A dead planet, a place where strange creatures called humans used to live. But what was a human voice doing here inside a cube buried in trash? She held it tight, afraid someone might see her. She could almost feel the cube's warmth spreading through her palms. It felt alive, lonely like her. "Help us," the voice had said. Lyra had never helped anyone. No one had ever helped her. Yet something in that voice felt familiar, gentle, kind, desperate. That night, when the junkyard went quiet and the stars above flickered weakly through the thick clouds, Lyra sat in her small shelter made from old machine parts. She placed the cube on the floor beside her. "Captain Arik," she whispered, "are you still there?" No answer. She waited, listening to the night. Wind brushed through broken pipes, creating a sad tune. Distant footsteps echoed, then faded. Still nothing from the cube. Lyra sighed. "Maybe you're gone, like everyone else." She leaned back, closing her eyes, and for the first time in years she dreamed. She dreamed of water, not the dirty kind that dripped from pipes, but a giant ocean, blue and endless. She dreamed of a sun that was warm, not harsh, and she dreamed of people who smiled when they saw her, not laughed. When she woke, the cube was glowing faintly beside her. The hum was stronger now, almost like a heartbeat matching her own. She reached out to touch it, and the glow grew brighter. The voice came again, soft and broken. "If anyone finds this, you are my only hope." Her breath caught in her throat. The cube was speaking again. "I don't know who you are," she said, her voice shaking, "but I found you. I'll listen." "I can hear you." The cube pulsed as if it understood. For the first time in her life, Lyra didn't feel alone. There was something or someone out there who needed her, and deep down she felt this was no accident. Maybe the junkyard had been waiting for her to find this treasure. Outside, the first light of morning painted the ruins in pale gold. Scavengers shouted and machines roared to life, but inside her small shelter, A blind girl sat with a glowing cube in her hands, and a human voice whispering from a world long lost. The junkyard, once full of dead things, now held a secret. And Lyra, the girl who couldn't see, was about to discover that she could hear destiny itself. The cube glowed like a tiny star in Lyra's hands. Its light painted her face with soft silver as she sat in the dark listening. The voice had gone silent again, leaving behind only the faint hum that felt almost alive. Outside her shelter, the junkyard was waking up. Machines groaned. Gangs shouted orders. The smell of smoke filled the air. But Lyra didn't move. Her world had changed overnight. The cube wasn't just junk, it was something more, something that spoke. She turned it over, tracing the strange patterns on its sides. Each line hummed with a tone she could hear but not see. The sound felt like a song, sad but strong. Then suddenly the hum shifted. The cube gave a small pulse. A faint click echoed inside it, and the voice came again. "If anyone hears this, I am Captain Auric, last survivor of the Earth ship Horizon. We failed our mission. Our world is gone. I'm leaving this memory behind in case someone, someday, can find hope again." The words were broken and full of static, but Lyra's heart beat faster with every syllable. She whispered, "Captain Auric, I hear you." The cube answered with a low, soft hum like it was listening back. For a long time she sat there speaking quietly to it, as if talking to a ghost. She told it her name. She told it about the junkyard, about how people treated her and about how she collected metal just to stay alive. She even laughed a little, though her eyes were wet. "I don't know what Earth is," she said softly, "but if it was your home, I hope it was beautiful." The cube flickered gently as if nodding. That night Lyra took the cube to the old power pit, a deep hole where dead machines were thrown away. She had an idea. Some of the broken generators still gave off faint energy waves. Maybe, she thought, if she held the cube close to them it would wake up more. She climbed down carefully, using her sharp hearing to sense where the ground cracked or where metal hung loose. Her hands bled from sharp edges, but she didn't stop. When she reached the center, she placed the cube near an old reactor shell. The air around it began to buzz. The cube glowed brighter. A light hum turned into a voice again, this time clear, almost alive. "Lyra," she froze. It had spoken her name. She whispered, "You can hear me?" "Yes," the voice replied, soft and deep. "Your voice reached me through the signal field." "You are not like the others." Lyra's heart raced. "I can't see," she said, "but I can hear you. I can hear everything." "Then you are gifted," Auric said. "Your world is loud with life, even in death." "I've been asleep for I don't know how long, but your voice woke me." Lyra sat beside the glowing cube, her hands trembling. "You're not real," she said. "You're a memory." "Maybe," the voice answered. "But memories are still alive when someone listens." Those words struck her deeply. She had lived her whole life unseen and unheard. Yet now a voice from a dead world was speaking only to her. It was the first time anyone had ever said her name like it mattered. Days passed. Lyra kept the cube hidden in a torn bag and spoke to it whenever she could. She learned that Captain Auric had been a human explorer. His ship Horizon had crashed on this planet centuries ago. The cube was a data core, part machine, part memory. He told her about Earth, a world of blue oceans and tall green forests. He described rain that smelled clean, air that didn't taste of smoke, and skies that were open and endless. Lyra listened in silence, imagining every word. But she wasn't alone in the junkyard. One day, while trading scraps for food, a large scavenger noticed the faint light coming from her bag. His yellow eyes narrowed. "What's that, blind girl? Found something shiny?" Lyra stepped back, clutching her bag. "Just metal," she lied. He reached for it, but she turned and ran, her bare feet knowing every sound and every stone. The scavenger shouted after her, "You can't hide forever." She didn't stop running until she reached her shelter. Her breathing was sharp, her heart loud. She whispered to the cube, "They'll take you. They'll melt you for scrap." "Then we must not let them," said the voice. "There's something more you must see, or rather something only you can hear." Lyra tilted her head. "What do you mean?" "My ship still rests here under this junkyard," Auric said. "Its systems are buried deep, but I can sense its signal through you. You can find it because you hear what others can't." She felt a chill run through her. The junkyard stretched for miles. The gangs controlled it all. Entering their territory meant certain death. You don't have to be afraid, Arik said softly. You are not broken, Lyra, you are different. And sometimes being different is what saves worlds. Lyra held the cube close, listening to its hum blend with her heartbeat. For the first time, she didn't feel blind, she felt powerful. That night, the winds roared across the ruins. Storms of dust and metal fragments howled through the air. But in a small shelter made of scrap, a blind alien girl sat cross-legged, holding a glowing cube that whispered with a human voice from another world. And somewhere deep beneath the junkyard, under tons of forgotten metal, something stirred, an ancient pulse waking again. The cube whispered one last time before fading to silence. Tomorrow I'll guide you to the ship, Lyra. Together we will find what was lost. She smiled faintly, whispering into the wind. Then tomorrow, Captain Arik. We begin. The storm had passed, but the junkyard still groaned under the weight of silence. Broken towers leaned like tired giants, and the air smelled of rust and dust. Inside her small shelter, Lyra sat awake, clutching the glowing cube against her chest. The storm had kept her from sleeping, but that wasn't what made her restless. It was the words that still echoed in her mind. Tomorrow I'll guide you to the ship, Lyra. Together we will find what was lost. Morning came without light. The sky was heavy and dull, as if the world itself was tired of being alive. But Lyra rose anyway. She had lived her whole life waiting for something. She just never knew what it was until now. The cube vibrated softly in her hands, like a heartbeat in sync with her own. Can you hear me, Lyra? The voice of Captain Arik was clear, gentle, almost human again. She nodded. I can hear you. Good, he said. Then listen carefully. Beneath this junkyard lies my ship, the Horizon. It's buried deep, but it still breathes faint energy. You can find it. You can hear it. Lyra tilted her head, closing her useless eyes. The junkyard hummed with hundreds of sounds. Wind scraping metal, machines clanging, voices shouting, but somewhere beneath all that noise, there was something deeper, a low, steady pulse, slow, ancient. I hear it, she whispered. It's calling. That's the ship's heart, Arik said. Follow it, but be careful. There are others who will not let you near. Lyra wrapped the cube in cloth and slipped it into her bag. Her feet were light on the dusty ground as she moved through the maze of metal. She had walked these paths her whole life, but today they felt different. Like every step was part of something bigger. The junkyard gangs were awake early. Fires burned in barrels, and scavengers were already arguing over scrap piles. One of them, the tall alien with yellow eyes who had chased her before, saw her pass by. He smirked. Back again, blind rat? He sneered. Still looking for trash? Lyra ignored him, keeping her head low. He laughed. One day someone's gonna step on you and not even notice. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. Because deep inside, she carried something far more powerful than his words. A voice that believed in her. She followed the faint hum beneath her feet, letting the sound guide her like a thread through the maze of debris. The deeper she went, the quieter the world became. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Finally, she reached an area no one dared to enter, the silent pit. It was said to be cursed, filled with old machines that screamed when touched. Most scavengers stayed far away, but Lyra smiled faintly. To her, silence was safety. Silence meant no one else could hear what she could. As she climbed down the broken slope, the cube glowed brighter, warming her chest through the cloth. You're close, Arik said. Do you feel it? Yes, she whispered. It's like the ground is breathing. She knelt and pressed her hand against the dirt. The vibrations were strong, steady, and rhythmic. It was no machine she'd ever known. It felt alive. That's the reactor core, Arik explained. My ship still dreams even after all this time. Lyra frowned. Dreams? Yes. Ships like the Horizon are linked to their captains. They remember. They wait, Lyra smiled sadly. Then maybe your ship has been waiting for you. For both of us, Arik said softly. You found me. That means it was waiting for you too. She didn't know what that meant, but it made her heart ache in a strange way, like she was part of something bigger than her lonely life in the trash. Suddenly the air changed. The hum from below grew louder. The ground trembled under her hand. Dust rose in the air. Lyra! Arik's voice sharpened. Step back. She stumbled backward as the dirt cracked open. A burst of light spilled out. a narrow beam of blue energy cutting through the shadows. It wasn't bright enough to blind her, but she could feel it, warm and alive. Her breath caught. "It's the ship." "Yes," Arik said, his voice trembling. "You found the access hatch." A metallic door slowly slid open in front of her, ancient gears grinding after centuries of silence. Warm air escaped from inside, carrying the faint smell of ozone and dust. It was like the breath of something waking from a long sleep. But before she could step closer, she heard voices, real ones, echoing from above. "There she is," shouted the yellow-eyed scavenger. "Told you she was hiding something." Lyra's heart raced. She grabbed the cube and ran toward the hatch. A shot cracked through the air, hitting the ground near her feet. Sparks flew. "Go, Lyra," Arik urged. "The ship will protect you." She leaped through the opening just as a blast struck the hatch door. It slammed shut behind her with a metallic roar. Darkness swallowed her, but it wasn't empty. The air inside hummed softly like the heartbeat of a sleeping giant. She fell to her knees, breathing hard. The cube glowed again, brighter than ever. "You did it," Arik whispered. "You're inside the horizon." Lyra touched the floor. It was smooth and warm. She could feel gentle tremors, like something beneath her was alive and listening. "What now?" she whispered. "Now," said Arik, "and we wake the ship." The walls around her began to hum. Faint lights flickered. Symbols glowed under her hands. And deep within the ship's heart, something powerful stirred. Something ancient waiting for her voice. Lyra lifted her head, her blind eyes reflecting the faint blue light. For the first time in her life, she didn't feel lost. She felt connected. The air inside the ship was warm but strange, like breathing in old memories. Lyra stood still, her hands pressed against the metal floor. It was smooth and alive, humming softly beneath her fingertips. Every vibration told her something. Movement, energy, whispers of a machine that remembered its past. "Welcome to the horizon," said Arik's voice gently, echoing through the cube. "You are the first to set foot here in a very long time." Lyra smiled faintly. "It doesn't feel dead." "It isn't," Arik replied. "It sleeps. But now that you're here, it listens." She ran her fingers along the wall. The surface pulsed like skin, reacting to her touch. Then faint lights flickered around her, forming symbols she couldn't see, but she could hear the soft tone each one made. Every sound was a note in a song of technology and time. Her blindness didn't matter here. This place spoke in the language of sound, and she was fluent in it. Outside, the scavengers were gathering. The yellow-eyed leader, known as Karn, watched the ground crack where Lyra had vanished. He spat into the dust. "She's gone underground," he growled. "No one goes there and lives." His men looked uneasy. The silent pit had swallowed many before. But Karn's greed burned stronger than fear. "That glow she carried, human tech," he said. "Worth more than this whole junkyard. Find the hatch. Tear it open." Inside the ship, Lyra didn't know they were already digging. She only knew the horizon was calling her deeper. "Arik," she said, "what is this place?" "Why does it feel alive?" "Because it is," he replied. "Ships like this were built with living circuits, half machine, half mind. They connect with those who understand them." "Connect?" she repeated softly. "Yes, the ship and I were once one. My thoughts guided its path. When it crashed, part of me was sealed in the core, part inside this cube. That's why I can still speak." Lyra touched the cube in her hand. "Then you're not just a memory." "No," said Arik, "and neither are you. There's something inside you, something that responds to the ship. It recognizes you." "Me?" she said with disbelief. "I'm just a blind girl who picks trash." "Not anymore," the voice said gently. "You hear what others can't. That's not weakness, Lyra, that's power." She followed the hum through a corridor filled with soft, echoing tones. Each footstep awakened faint lights. She could sense their pattern. The ship was welcoming her. Then she reached a wide chamber. The air was thicker here, and the sound changed. Beneath her feet was a deep, rhythmic pulse, steady like a heart. "This is it," she whispered. "The ship's heart." "Correct," said Arik, "the reactor core. But it's weak, barely holding power. If we restore it, the horizon could awaken again." She crouched, pressing her hands to the ground. The sound was weak but alive. She could almost see its shape through the rhythm, the way her mind mapped vibrations like light. "Tell me what to do," she said. "There's a control node to your right." You can hear it, 3 tones low to high. She turned her head, listening. There it was, 3 clear notes hidden beneath the hum. She followed them, feeling her way along the wall until she reached a panel that pulsed with faint energy. Her fingers found a circular groove. She placed the cube inside it. The hum grew louder. Energy crackled through the walls. Dust fell from the ceiling as the ship shuddered to life for the first time in centuries. Outside, Karn's team heard the noise. What was that? One of them shouted. Karn grinned. Treasure waking up. They brought heavy drills and cutters ripping into the hatch. Inside, Lyra felt every vibration, every hit against the ship's skin. Arik, they're coming, she said quickly. They're breaking in. Then we must hurry. The ship's defense systems need power. Finish the link. How? She asked. Place your hand on the cube, she obeyed. The moment her fingers touched it, a shock ran through her body. The ship's hum filled her mind, a wave of sounds and pulses that weren't just noise, they were thoughts. She gasped as visions, shapes, lights, emotions flashed behind her closed eyes. She could see through sound. Arik's voice was calm. Don't be afraid. The ship is reaching for you. Let it connect. The hum merged with her heartbeat until she couldn't tell which was which. She felt energy flowing through her veins, and in that moment she understood. The ship wasn't only hearing her. It was listening to her soul. The cube pulsed once more. Lights along the walls ignited. A deep mechanical voice echoed through the chamber. New captain recognized Lyra. Her mouth fell open. What? No, She deserves it, Arik said softly. You awakened me when no one else could. The ship knows your heart. Before Lyra could reply, the sound of metal tearing filled the chamber. The scavengers had breached the hatch. Voices shouted in the distance. They're inside, she cried. Then it's time, Arik said. The ship will protect its captain. The walls began to glow. A low, vibrating hum spread through the corridors like thunder. The scavengers froze as the ground beneath them lit up with blue lines. Run, one of them screamed, but it was too late. Energy surged through the ship's outer hull, blasting them back with invisible force. The hatch sealed again, molten metal cooling like ice. Lyra knelt, trembling. The hum softened to a calm rhythm again. You're safe now, Arik said quietly. The ship is yours. Lyra touched the floor, feeling the steady pulse of the reactor, the heartbeat of a new beginning. For the first time in her life, the world didn't seem dark anymore. It was alive, waiting to be rediscovered, and the blind girl who once searched for scraps now held the power to awaken a legend. The air inside the ship still trembled with power. Lyra knelt in the heart chamber, her hands pressed against the warm floor, feeling the hum of life returning to the horizon. The lights that once flickered now pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. For a moment she felt safe. For a moment she believed it was over, but outside the metal walls danger had only begun. Karn, the yellow-eyed scavenger, lay in the dust, his clothes singed from the ship's blast. He pushed himself up, eyes burning with fury. She's got control of that thing, he snarled. I want it open now. His men hesitated, frightened by the ship's power. But Karn wasn't the kind to fear anything he could sell. Get the plasma cutters, he shouted. If the ship's alive, it means it's full of tech, and I'll tear it apart myself. Sparks filled the sky as they started cutting into the metal once more. Inside, the hum changed. Lyra turned her head toward the sound, her expression tightening. Arik, she whispered, they're coming again. Yes, he replied quietly. The ship feels them too. She could sense it. The horizon was awake, but weak. Its defenses were limited. The power she had helped awaken wasn't enough to hold forever. You must reach the command bridge, said Arik. It's higher up. From there, we can fully restore the systems. Lyra rose to her feet, still clutching the cube. The walls around her whispered like voices, guiding her path through dark corridors. Her steps echoed softly as the ship seemed to breathe with her. Every sound mattered. She could hear the hum of circuits under her palms, the faint rattle of energy lines, the slow movement of air through vents. She could see the way only she could, through sound and feeling. But as she moved deeper, the cube began to flicker. Arik's voice wavered. Lyra, power low. Signal. Arik, she said, worried. Stay with me. You must hurry, he whispered faintly. They'll break through soon. Then his voice faded, leaving only silence and the ship's heartbeat. Lyra bit her lip. The silence felt heavier than darkness. Without Arik's voice, she felt alone again. But this time, something inside her refused to give up. She followed the hum that pulled her forward. Meanwhile, Karn's men forced their way through the ship's side. Sparks rained down as molten metal gave way. They entered cautiously, flashlights cutting through the smoke. "Find the girl," Karn growled. "And bring that glowing box to me." The ship's corridors groaned. Dust fell from the ceiling. Strange echoes moved through the halls, confusing them. It was as if the ship itself was whispering in their ears, mocking them. "Which way is—" one of the scavengers began, but a sudden burst of light blinded him. "The wall shifted, sealing them in. Trap!" another shouted. But the doors slammed shut one by one as if the ship was alive and angry. Lyra felt the tremors from above. "They're inside," she murmured. She ran toward the upper passageways, guided by the sound of power running through hidden veins of the ship. The path was steep and full of debris, but her hands knew how to move through broken metal. She had climbed junk her whole life. This was no different, except this time she wasn't running from hunger. She was running toward purpose. Finally, she reached a large circular door. She pressed her ear to it. It was silent, then a low tone vibrated beneath her skin. "Command bridge," she whispered. "I can hear it." She placed the cube against the panel. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a soft blue light spread across the door and it slowly slid open. The air inside was warmer. She stepped in carefully. It was vast. She could feel the openness by how the sound of her footsteps echoed. At the far end, she heard a hum, slow and deep. She followed it, reaching a raised platform with smooth controls. She touched one, warm to the skin like a heartbeat. "Lyra!" Arik's voice returned, faint but steady. "You found it." Relief washed over her. "You're back. Always," he said. "Now place the cube in the main port. The ship will listen to you fully," she did as told. The cube clicked into place and suddenly light burst through the room. The ship came alive. Screens flickered, panels sang with low harmonic tones, and the hum became a deep, steady rhythm. Lyra stood still, her face calm but her heart racing. Then came the sound she feared most. Footsteps, rough voices. The scavengers had found another way in. "There she is," Karn shouted. Lyra turned toward the noise. She couldn't see him, but she didn't need to. His boots struck the floor like hammer blows. Heavy, greedy, certain. "Give me that cube," he barked. "You don't even know what you're holding." Lyra's voice was quiet but strong. "It's not yours," he laughed cruelly. "You're blind, little rat. You think you can keep it from me?" "She doesn't need eyes to see," said Arik's voice suddenly echoing through the walls. Karn froze. "What? Who said that?" "I did," Arik said, his tone turning firm. "And you shouldn't have come here." The floor trembled. The lights flared. The hum grew into a roar. "Run!" One of Karn's men screamed, but Karn didn't move. "You think you can scare me with tricks?" The deck beneath him cracked open. A burst of light and wind threw him backward. The others fled, shouting in panic. The last thing Karn saw before losing consciousness was Lyra standing still, surrounded by glowing light, her blind eyes reflecting the hum of the ship. The bridge went silent again. Lyra sank to her knees, shaking. "They're gone?" "Yes," said Arik softly. "For now." She breathed deeply, her heart pounding with fear and awe. The ship had protected her again, but this time it had done so because of her. She looked up toward where she imagined the stars would be. "Arik, what happens now?" "Now," he said, "we repair the ship and then we take it to the stars again." Lyra smiled faintly. "The blind girl, going to the stars." "No," Arik said gently. "The captain." And deep inside the ship, the horizon hummed in agreement like it knew the truth before she did. Silence filled the bridge after the chaos faded. The only sound left was the soft hum of the horizon. Steady, calm, almost like breathing. The air smelled of warm metal and dust, but to Lyra it felt clean, alive. She stood there for a while, her hands trembling slightly as she touched the controls. The metal beneath her fingers pulsed softly, responding to her heartbeat. It was strange yet comforting. She could feel the ship's rhythm inside her chest as if they shared the same life. "Are you all right, Lyra?" The voice came gently like a whisper carried by wind. Lyra exhaled. "You scared me, Arik. I thought you were gone again." "I told you," the voice replied softly. "I will never leave you," she smiled faintly. "You sound more alive now." "That's because I am," Arik said. You restored part of me. The ship and I are connected again. I can feel its systems, its thoughts, its waking up. The walls around her vibrated gently as if listening. Lyra turned her head, sensing movement she couldn't see. Arik, she said quietly. You keep saying you and the ship are one. What does that mean? Are you human? Or something else? There was a long silence. Then his voice came lower, softer, carrying something like sadness. I was human once, Lyra's breath caught. You were? Yes, a long time ago. I was captain of this vessel, the Horizon. We left Earth to find new worlds. But during our final mission, we were attacked. The ship was damaged, my crew. Gone. I couldn't let the ship die. So I merged my mind with its core. My body ended, but my thoughts survived. Lyra touched the cube that still glowed faintly on the console. So, you're alive inside here? A memory of who I was, he said. But when you found me, something changed. You didn't just activate me, you linked with me, she frowned. Linked? You and the ship now share a frequency. When you touched the cube, your mind resonated with the ship's core. It accepted you. It made you its new heart. Lyra stood still, unsure what to say. But I don't understand. I'm not special. I can't even see. Arik's tone grew firm but kind. Lyra, you see differently. You don't look, you listen. You sense the world in ways humans never could. You gave life back to a ship that even I couldn't wake. That's not weakness. That's strength. She turned her head toward the sound of his voice, her pale eyes glowing faintly in the light. So the ship listens to me now? Yes, Arik said. Because you're the only one it trusts. The floor beneath her feet shifted gently. The hum changed tone, rising softly like the ship was responding to their conversation. Lyra smiled. It's alive, isn't it? It always was, Arik replied. But now it remembers how to live. She reached out to touch a nearby panel. The moment her fingers brushed it, images flickered in her mind. Sounds of laughter, a crew talking, music playing, oceans and skies she had never seen. She gasped. I can hear them. Those are memories, said Arik, echoes of the past. You're hearing the lives of my crew. The ship kept them, buried deep inside its circuits. Lyra stood in silence, letting the memories surround her. A woman's voice laughed softly. A man hummed a tune. Someone whispered a goodbye. The sounds faded like wind in a dream. They sound happy, she said quietly. They were, Arik said. We dreamed of bringing light to other worlds. But when the horizon fell, that dream ended until you came. Her chest ached at the sorrow in his voice. Then maybe, she said softly, we can finish it. Maybe we can, he answered. But first we must repair the ship completely. The main energy core is still broken, and the scavengers will return. At the mention of them, Lyra tensed. Karn won't stop. He'll come again. Then we'll be ready, Arik said firmly. You and I together. She nodded, feeling a strength rise inside her that she didn't recognize. The junkyard girl who once begged for scraps was gone. In her place stood someone who could command a living starship. But as she turned to leave the bridge, she hesitated. Arik, may I ask you something? Of course, her voice lowered. When you merged with the ship, did it hurt? There was silence, then a slow, sad breath from the speakers. It did, not my body, but my heart. I lost everything I loved. My crew, my world, my humanity. I thought I'd never feel again. Lyra's fingers brushed the cube gently. And now? Now, he said softly, I feel again because of you. Her throat tightened. Then maybe you're not just memory. Maybe you're still human somewhere inside. The cube pulsed warmly in her hand. Then maybe you are too. The hum of the ship deepened like thunder rolling from its heart. Panels lit up in patterns around the room. The horizon was alive again, truly alive. And its voice was not just Arik's. It was also hers. Arik, Lyra whispered. I can hear something new. Beneath the main hum. It's low, like a heartbeat. That's the main reactor, he said. It's calling to you. It needs your touch to fully awaken. She placed her hand on the console again, and this time the hum aligned with her heartbeat. Her body tingled with warmth. Her head filled with sound and light she couldn't describe. For a moment, she wasn't blind. She saw through vibration and energy, the outline of the bridge, the shimmer of power, and faint stars above through the cracked hull. A tear rolled down her cheek. It's beautiful, she whispered. You see it now, Arik said softly. The way it was always meant to be. Outside, the night was falling again. The scavengers regrouped in the shadows, watching the glowing wreck in the distance. Inside, a blind alien girl and the last voice of humanity stood together at the bridge of a sleeping ship, its heart beating again. And far beneath the junkyard, the horizon whispered to the stars as if remembering the taste of flight. The junkyard slept under a dark sky. Winds moved across mountains of broken metal, whispering over the ruins of forgotten machines. The world looked dead, but deep beneath the dust and silence something ancient had awakened, something alive. The horizon. Its heart pulsed like a giant star trapped beneath the ground, steady and bright. Inside its bridge stood Lyra, the blind alien girl who once gathered trash for food. Now her hands rested on glowing controls that hummed with energy. She could feel the ship breathing with her. "The systems are stabilizing," Arik said gently through the speakers. "The ship listens to you now, Lyra." She smiled faintly. "It feels warm, like it's alive again." "It is," he replied. "You gave it back its soul." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the reactor filled the silence like a heartbeat. Lyra closed her pale eyes and listened. She could hear every vibration, the deep rhythm of engines waking, the electric song of circuits stretching after centuries of sleep. It was beautiful. It was alive. But beauty never lasts long in a broken world. Above the buried ship, the scavengers had returned. Karn, burned and scarred but still breathing, stood before the glowing ground where the horizon slept. His yellow eyes burned with greed. "Open it," he growled. "I don't care what it takes." His crew hesitated. "Boss, that thing isn't natural," one said. Karn drew his blaster. "Do it!" They obeyed. The ground shook as machines tore into the soil, searching for the treasure that wasn't theirs. Inside the horizon, alarms began to hum softly. "They're coming again," Lyra whispered. "Yes," said Arik, "and this time they'll stop at nothing." She turned toward the sound of his voice. "Then neither will we." The ship responded to her words like a living being. The lights brightened, the air thickened with energy. The hum deepened until it felt like thunder trapped inside a heart. "Arik," Lyra said, "can we fly?" The voice hesitated. "Not yet, but soon. If the energy core reaches full sync with you, the ship will rise again." Lyra took a deep breath. "Tell me what to do." "Stand at the command center," Arik said. "Place your hand on the core panel. And believe." She smiled slightly. "Believe?" "Yes," he said softly. "The ship draws power from your signal, from your heartbeat, your strength, your will to live." She walked to the center of the bridge, her steps sure and calm. The ship hummed louder with every move she made. She reached the glowing panel, laid her hand on it, and closed her eyes. The cube beside her pulsed with light. Then Arik's voice became quiet. "Lyra, whatever happens next, remember you're not alone." A wave of light spread across the room. The sound of power roared through the ship. Lyra gasped as energy ran through her like a river of fire and music. She could feel everything. The walls, the engines, the outer hull. It was as if her body and the ship had become one. Above, the ground began to crack. Metal and sand lifted into the air as glowing blue light spilled from below. The scavengers stumbled back in shock. What is that?" one of them shouted. Karn's eyes widened. "No, it can't be alive." The junkyard exploded in light. The horizon rose from the earth like a phoenix from ashes, old metal falling away as bright engines ignited beneath it. Its hull shone silver and blue, pure against the dirty sky. The roar of power shook the ground, sending scavengers running in fear. Inside the ship, Lyra stood tall, her blind eyes glowing faintly in the light. She could feel the stars above her, not see them but hear them calling. "Arik," she whispered, "we're flying." "Yes," he said, his voice filled with pride. "You did it, Captain." The title made her chest tighten. "Captain," she repeated softly as if testing the sound. "I never thought I'd be anything." "You already were," Arik said. "You just didn't know it yet." The ship climbed higher, breaking through the clouds. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt warmth, real warmth, from the sun. It touched her skin, soft and golden. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I can't see it," she whispered, "but I can feel it. It's so bright." "That's light," Arik said. "That's what my people lived for," she smiled. "Then maybe your people aren't gone anymore." "No," he said softly. "As long as you carry this ship, they'll live through you." Below them, the junkyard was just a shadow now, a scar on a world she no longer belonged to. The horizon moved smoothly through the air, its engine singing a note so pure that even the wind seemed to pause to listen. "Where do we go now?" Lyra asked quietly. "Anywhere," said Arik. "The stars are endless." "There are other worlds still waiting for hope." She nodded, her voice trembling with awe. "Then let's bring it to them." For a long time, neither of them spoke. The hum of the ship filled the silence, calm, alive, eternal. Lyra stood by the glowing console, her hand resting over the cube that held Arik's spirit. "Thank you," she whispered, "for believing in me." "No, Lyra," he said gently. "Thank you for reminding me what it means to be human." The horizon soared higher, its light fading into the stars. Down below, the junkyard fell silent again. Empty, quiet, but changed forever. The story of the blind girl who once searched for trash would travel through galaxies. A girl who found a broken voice and turned it into hope. A human who became more than memory. And a ship that carried both, the treasure of two worlds.